Good evening, good evening, good
Hey,
evening.
good
How
evening.
are you guys doing on tonight, on this lovely Sunday night? No matter where you are, it's lovely, right? It's a lovely Sunday night. It's lovely for us, it's lovely for you. And welcome to Love Still Matters After the Vows. And I am your host, Stacey.
And I am Ray.
And we are
The Lovebirds.
So, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to ask that you guys, when you come on, remember to start. Hello, Mother Harris, to my mother, our special guest, who was on Mother's Day. And so, hi, Karita. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to be here tonight. And so, we didn't have anything specific to talk about tonight. We wanted to talk about a few things. Hi, Sister Shanice. How are you? Shanae, I'm sorry. A few things. And one of the things we wanted to talk about tonight was finding time to steal away. We talked about date night. But you also need to find time to steal away as a married couple. No matter how you find the time to steal away, we are entering into this season of summer. We are going to be ending our springtime soon, and you guys need to find some time to steal away, right? With the heat and the hustle and bustle of work and the hustle and bustle of children, you need to find some time to just get away and enjoy yourself. So I wanted to talk about, since COVID is over, finding some time for a weekend getaway, right? And even if you can't do a weekend getaway, do a couple of weekend day trips. I know that people are beginning to become a little bit stressed because there is so much death that is taking place. There's so much death that is taking place all over everywhere. If it's not your family, it's your coworker. If not a coworker, it's a friend. If it's not a friend, it's someone that you know. It's someone that you know. And as couples, you need to take some time to get away, to refresh your marriage,
That's right. Decompress. Woosa. Woosa.
Decompress. Good evening, Missionary Addison. So listen, I am going through what is called the stage of life. Right? And yeah, the stage of life, right? The stage of life. And so I'm going through what's called the stage of life, menopause, premenopause. And my poor husband, y'all pray for him. My poor husband, y'all pray for him. Because those things come with like different mood swings, right? Got my fan. They come with hot flashes. They come with attitude changes and whatever. And so what people are facing in their marriages is not only women going through premenopause or menopause, but people go through change. People go through change in different seasons. And so it's important to get away with your spouse or your partner or whoever you're married to. It is important for you to get away and to take some time and decompress. Whether it's you just lay in a hotel, lay by the beach, lay by the water, go for a walk, whatever you do, you need to take some time and get away. And you guys need to talk. Right? You need to talk. A lot of people don't spend a lot of time talking, right? We talked about car rides and what happens in car rides. Sometimes one person's talking, one person's listening to the radio, or one person's on their phone, and people don't use that time wisely to communicate. So we're going to start building up more about communication, because I find that in our Marriage 101 enrichment counseling with couples, the number one problem is communication. People do not effectively communicate. And why don't they effectively communicate? Because for one, they're frustrated, right? They're frustrated for one. What do you think? Give me a number.
Well, yeah, they are frustrated. And let's put this into the proper perspective. We are just now coming out of COVID.
COVID.
We haven't gotten over it. We're slowly easing back into what they try to say is normalcy. Okay? We've been stuck in a house with each other. We need a change of scenery. We need a different surrounding. personally, just to be able to have a different thing to look at instead of being in your house looking at your living room or your man cave or whatever. You need a different perspective. A day trip, as excuse me, a day trip, as the wife said. Well, what's a day trip? Someplace you could go that's away from the house, but it's only a couple of hours away. I ain't saying go book a Airbnb somewhere for the weekend. If you could do that, that's beautiful. But if you can't, just to ride down to the beach.
And some people may or may not be able to afford a day trip, right? I mean, a weekend getaway trip. That's why I said do a couple of things over the weekend where you're committed to spending time with your spouse. Spending time with your spouse. What are some things that married couples, I see a few married couples on here tonight. What are some things that you do to get away? What are some things that you do to enjoy to get away? Because you have a lot of people, guess what, who don't even go out on date night. They don't go out on date night. They're scared to go out. They're scared to do things. Listen, I went out yesterday with my mom. I took her out yesterday and we sat outside at a restaurant. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. The sunset came up. It was so beautiful and mesmerizing. The sunset when it came up. And so, and that was just with my mom. Today, my husband and I took a ride in our car. We put the top down. We got caught in the rain. I swear, I think it was like the funniest thing that ever happened to us. That's the second time. And I mean, it was pouring rain, storm, right? But we really enjoyed it. Because it was just the two of us. We were together. We were riding through the storm together. We were talking. And the funny thing about it is we did not get wet. Our backseat got soaking wet, but we didn't get wet. But we were on this journey together. And so you have to figure out ways to enhance your marriage, to enhance that spontaneous love that you guys once had. What makes you have those butterflies of your spouse? What makes you have those butterflies, men, about your wife? I mean, what do you look forward to when you go home? Or do you just go home, take your clothes off, throw the keys, throw your purse, throw your wallet, throw all those things, and then what's next, right? He's watching TV. You're watching TV, the kids are watching TV, or you're cooking dinner. He's outside doing X, Y, and Z. What do you do?
Yard work.
Yard work. I could go out there and help him do yard work, but generally I'm not home during that time to do the yard work. But what are things that you can do to bring you closer to your spouse? Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining us from Modesto, California. What are some things that you can do to draw you and your spouse closer? What are some things? We have married couples on here. What do you do? Share some ideas for some of the other married couples that are out here. Have you ever gone to one of these waterfalls? If you're in Connecticut, have you ever gone to sit by a waterfall? It's the most majestic, beautiful thing that God has created, to go sit by a waterfall. Have you tried the waterfall? Have you ever been to a waterfall? It's not like the beach. It's much different to see the water cascading down and just flowing. It's so much beauty in just sitting there. What do? I live in Enfield, right? And there's so many people at Collins Creamery. There's so many people at Smith's Ice Cream. I love to see couples interacting together. I love to see them going out and enjoying their love. You guys are quiet tonight. What's going on? You guys are mighty quiet. What do you want to add there, sir?
Well, it takes two. We're not in this individually. We, as I always said, what it took in the beginning to win that person, you got to keep some of that alive. If you were a couple who used to go out dancing when y'all first started dating, going out, simply because you kind of settled down a little bit, that doesn't mean you can't go back out to the club and dance. It doesn't mean you can't go out and you and her and just have a drink. My wife and I don't drink, but we love just being able to go out together sometime and enjoy a good meal together. And for me, that's a challenge because my wife is very, very picky about what she eats. And to try to discover something new for her to try and to see her face light up when she says, "Oh, that's pretty good," it means a lot to me. So you have to do a little work, do a little investigating.
So Terry says her and Will, they started exercising together recently. Missionary Addison said cooking a special meal together and baking together can be fun. Yes, those things are actually fun, especially getting out and doing the exercising together, getting out and exercising together, getting fit together. I love that. I love those two ideas that you ladies shared. And so we need to begin to do more of that. We need to begin to do more of that and begin to get out of your comfort zone. If I asked you a question to couples, right? And I seldom do this. I do this with my friends. I do this with people I work with sometimes that are married. And I ask you, what is your spouse's favorite song? Okay. Sometimes they don't even know, right? I'll say, okay, well, what is your spouse's favorite childhood memory? No idea. They don't know, right? These are some things that you can sit down and talk about and get to know them, right? You know them. You've been married 5, 10, 15 years, 25, 30, 35 years. There's things about my husband, and we've been together 28 years. We've been married going on 25 years. And there's things about him that I don't know. I don't know. And I'm in amaze. I'm amazed when I discover something new about him that I don't know. I'll say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Listening to a conversation, or just watching him, or asking questions. We still need to get to know one another. We will never, ever, ever finish discovering all that we need to know about our spouses. If you were on if we did a game show, would you win? Do you think you know everything? I'm serious. I mean, I thought I literally knew everything about my husband. I thought down to his favorite color, his favorite meal. But we were talking, and I think it was about music, and he said, "Oh, I love this group. I always love that group." And I was like, "You love that group? I've never even heard you listen to a song from that group." But it was something from his childhood that he was reminiscing about that I didn't know about. Right. So if you go to set up a romantic dinner and you want to surprise your spouse during their birthday with all of their favorite things, would you be able to do it? Would you be able to do it? And many of us say yes, but honestly, many of us can't if we're truthful about it. You know, those surface things.
Can I tell a story?
Tell a story.
A couple of years back, I'm not a big birthday person. Really, I don't really care to celebrate my birthday. I just don't. But my wife, in her infinite love and wisdom, threw me a backyard barbecue party. And one of the things that she gave me for my birthday was this big poster board made with all the candy that I love. And she made statements like, how to go, you are. I'm trying to think of how she worded some of it.
Oh my God, so long ago.
It was so long ago. But it was beautiful because this board had at least 30 pieces of different kind of candy glued to the board.
And remember, not only are you an airhead, have the
airheads, right?
Yeah. But you're a whatchamacallit, right? Yeah. It had all the different, okay.
So it had all the different things, and it was funny, but at the same time, it was touching that she knew all these different candies that I liked. And that's just a small thing. That's just a small thing. And as my wife said, you know, when you talk, you find out different things about somebody. Because when you're dating, you don't know everything about that person. As I said in the beginning, when we first started this program, you know, when couples are dating, everybody puts their best face forward. Everybody wants to put themselves in the best light. I'm gonna be a gentleman. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna hold the door for you. I'm gonna pull your chair out. I'm gonna do all this stuff to make you think. Here you go. Make you think you're the best thing that ever happened to me, as Gladys Knight would say. Mm-hmm. And then after a few months or a few years, ain't nobody holding the door no more. He ain't pulling out the chair no more. And then you want to sing that song, Where is the Love? Well, it's there. You just let it die a little bit.
But so what's important is communication. I just really want to drive that home with you, because there's so many people who are in separations or leading up to divorce because they don't know one another, and they think they know one another, and they really do not know one another, and they don't even know how to communicate. They don't even know how to have a simple conversation. They go out to a restaurant and they're quiet, right? They go out to the park and they're quiet. They go to a baseball game and they're quiet. There's no interaction. There's no communication. There's none. Have you ever stopped to ask your spouse or your significant other or your partner, you know, what was their favorite meal that their mother ever cooked as a child? Right? Because what they like now, maybe their favorite meal may be different than what their mother cooked for them when they were younger. Right? So my favorite meal now is different. I'm just saying from experience, is different than what my mother cooked for me. Right? If I told you my favorite meal, like people will be like, "Whoa, that's her favorite meal." But I really love hot dogs and beans. Right? My mom wasn't a person who made hot dogs and beans. She was all about cooking whole dinners. You know, she was that. She was that.
Good old Southern woman. Who made a whole meal.
Yeah, she was Ward Cleaver. Y'all know Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver? That was my mom. She always cooked a meal. June, what's her name? June Cleaver. Yeah, that was my mom. She always cooked a meal. I love Hamburger Helper, right, with vegan meat. My mother never used to make Hamburger Helper. She's like, that's not a meal. No, you know, she didn't like to make those things, but those were my favorite. Those are like my favorite meals now. As an adult, I just love them. I know they're bad and processed and all those good things, but I like them. I'm just saying, that's what I like. My mom didn't cook those things. When my mom used to make dinner for us at home, my favorite meal at home was stuffed peppers. When my mom made stuffed peppers, I swear it was like a holiday for me. It's so funny because my sister, she hates stuffed peppers, but those were the meals that were, you know, childhood memories that were special to me. That was really special to me, you know? And so we talk about those things. You need to talk about things with your spouse. Things with your spouse. Let me give you an example. Men do not like to go to the doctors, okay? And I see my signals acting out right now, right here. But men do not like to go to the doctors, right? Men, women, if you are feeling any way out of sorts, you should be sharing that with your spouse. If you're having pains that you have not had before, you know, begin to share those with your spouse, right? Why am I saying that? Because if something ever was to happen to you and you were ever to go to the hospital and they're trying to diagnose you and find out what's wrong with you and you're not conscious, these are the things that your spouse will be able to share with the emergency room, with the doctor, with them. But guess what? Because some people do not share things with their spouse. These are just small little minor things, right? These are small little minor things. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, you talked about communication before. We could never talk enough about communication. We cannot talk enough about communication. So I have couples who, when they come to marriage enrichment, and I say to them, hey, when you guys decided to get married, did you guys talk about how you were going to set up your finances? They're like, no, I pay my bills, she pays her bills. I mean, is that really how it works in a marriage? I'd love to hear from my couples out there. Is that really how things work in a marriage? Right? Because the word in the good book says the two shall become one flesh. Right? The two shall become one flesh. But how are you doing your things separately from your spouse? You're doing your things separately from your spouse, right? What do you want to share about that?
Well, when you do stuff separately from, like you said, you leave certain information out that might be vital somewhere down the line. You don't always know the littlest thing could be the most important thing. You know, like I don't like doctors. I don't like doctors. I don't like needles. Okay. But I've learned I have to communicate and tell her when I'm not feeling well. When even if it's a slight little thing, and I'll tell her, no, I'm okay. It ain't nothing big. It ain't nothing big. But what is it? What is it? And she'll hound me till I tell her and we discuss what it is. But it's important because, like I said, you don't want to go have an emergency in the middle of the night and rush your loved one to the hospital. And the doctor comes out asking you 50 million questions and you don't have the answer. You don't know the blood type. You don't know if he's got high blood pressure, low blood pressure. You don't know the illnesses that that have been in his family. All of that stuff is important. It's important.
And so get to know, I'm going to call this the month of June, getting to know your spouse. Getting to know your spouse. Try to learn a few things about your spouse, significant other, or partner that you did not know. Right? Think of some questions. And in the month of June, we're actually going to start looking for couples to come on our show and interview with us. We would love to do the married game with a few couples, and we do have good prizes. And we would love to do those things with you because there's so many couples out there, right, that can't express what they are going through for whatever reason, right? In the African American culture, we tend to keep things to ourselves, and we don't like to go to therapists or talk to people about our marital problems because they'll go and tell somebody else about our business. And you know what? You really should not be telling people your business. But if you can go to a licensed therapist, if you can go to someone that you can trust, if you can go to someone that you can confide in to try to seek some help, there's nothing wrong with trying to seek help from the right professionals. I want to say that. There's nothing wrong with that because guess what? We all need somebody's couch to lay on at some point in time in our life. My poor husband probably needs to lay on somebody's couch now because his wife, right, is going through the change of life with these hot flashes and menopause and premenopause. And like he says, it's so important. Sometimes he says, why did you say that like that to me? And I didn't really mean to say it like that, but I'm hot. I'm sweating. I'm frustrated. He's asking me questions where I'm just trying to get a piece of cool air, some water, some space. But these things need to be communicated, right? These things need to be communicated. I had to say to him, honey, I'm really not trying to murder you, but I'm just really hot and I'm tired and I'm cranky. And I'm trying to rein my emotions together, right? He didn't know what was going on. He probably just thought that I didn't want to be with him. I didn't want to be near him. I didn't want to talk to him or whatever. But I needed to communicate what was going on with me. Because sometimes he stops and he looks and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? there's a big old ant over there. So it's almost 9 o'clock. And so what I am going to do, I'm going to ask that you begin to think of ways, strategic ways and planning of a date night, of a weekend getaway, if you can. And if you can't do a weekend getaway, just start with a date night. Please start with a date night and do something that you've never done before. Do something that you've never done. Don't do the same old things that you've always done before. Listen, that gets boring. That's why some of your spouses, your husband, your wives don't want to do it, because you've done it 1,000 times. There's so many things that you can do to think outside of the box to have a romantic time with your spouse, significant other, or partner. There's so many things that you can do. So start thinking of things that you can do. Start thinking of things that you can do. Begin to come on here and start to share them with us. Start to share them with us. Because a lot of people tend to take family vacations, right? So then we're geared to dealing with the kids, catering to the kids, finding things for the kids, finding activities for the kids. But what happens to mom and dad, right? What happens to mom and dad? Find a support network, someone who's willing to babysit if you have small kids, if you can't afford someone to care for them, right? But you must take time out together. You must begin to take time out together. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. You want to share?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, you can share.
Listen, sharing is caring. And the thing is this. Children grow up, and they grow up fast. And all the time we spend nurturing them, loving them, caring for them, it comes a time where they don't even want to be bothered with us no more. I'm going out with my friends. I'm going to go here with my girlfriends or with my guy friends. I'll see you later, Dad. The days of being in the yard or going down to the playground and shoot hoops, those days come to an end. And then it's just you and the wife. And what are you doing? Are you looking at this lady who you really, really don't know?
Oh, wow.
Or will you have something to hold y'all together in your, as they say, in your golden years?
In your golden years.
In everybody's golden years. One of my crazy favorite songs, and don't laugh, is a song by the Beatles. And in the song it says, "Will you still love me? Will you still need me when I'm 64?" And then he goes on to talk about a whole lot of different things that happens when you get older. And my wife thought that was one of the stupidest songs I ever played for her one anniversary.
I didn't think it was stupid.
But I said to her, think about it. Will you still love me? Will you still need me when I'm 64? When I do crazy stuff as an older man who don't have everything up here, will you still care for me? So these are things that we have to ponder. Because at some point we have to face these things.
Well, it's 9 o'clock, and thank you so much for tuning in to Love Still Matters After the Vows. Look, I'm looking forward to your weekend getaways, your ideas. And listen, if you come up with a fantastic idea and we share it on this show, you will win a prize. So start thinking about your romantic getaway. Start thinking about your romantic date night. We want to hear about it. Start planning it. We want to hear about it. So until next week, tune in, tell someone, tell a friend, tell a couple, tell someone that's on their journey to love about us. And we look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Love Still Matters After the Vows. Good night and see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.